Thanks for joining us. This is Business Incorporated live from our Lagos studios. I am Bisi Adebayo. On the show today, Lusara Diamond discovers 472-carat diamond in Botswana, and Zimbabwean government to sell shares in 35 state-owned firms as part of plans to revive the economy. Plus, Exotics Capital reviews Lafarge Africa's 2017 full-year earnings. But let's start off with the trading day in Africa. Here in Nigeria, where the index remained in the negative terrain at intraday, while the market in South Africa is up 0.33%. In Egypt, the index fell 1.8% as investors booked profits as tension in the Middle East continued to heat up. Kenya also closed negative on Thursday. And most Gulf markets closed lower on Thursday as the threat of U.S. military action in Syria kept investors on the sidelines, while the Saudi Arabian market stabilized after a sell-off on the previous day. Saudi Arabia's index was up 0.27%, regaining some strength after Wednesday's 1.9% slide. The index is still up 8% this year on fund flows that occurred before index compiler FTSE Russell announced in late March that it would upgrade Riyadh to emerging market status. Dubai's index closed 1.2% lower, weighed down by property stocks. Emma Properties, and that's the largest property developer, dropped 2.0%. The Abu Dhabi index slipped 0.78%, hit by weak financial and property stocks. Qatar's index lost 1.07%, hurt by banking stocks, with Commercial Bank tumbling 4.3%, but the index still rose 1.4% over the week, and that was after several blue-chip firms raised foreign ownership limits. And in the U.S., the stocks swayed between small gains and losses on Friday. Well, before we get to the U.S., let's talk about Europe, where the equities traded slightly higher on Friday morning as investors braced for earnings reports from U.S. banks. Shares of Volkswagen were marginally higher at about 0.5% as the company announced the appointment of a new chief executive as it moves ahead with an overhaul plan. Well, let's get more on this from my colleague Daniel Coop, who is standing by at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. It's good to see you again, Daniel. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Very nice to see you as well. I hope you're doing fine, excited about the weekend. We are, and yeah, let's get the show started.
Yes, indeed. Let's get the show started, and that will be with the meeting of the supervisory board of Volkswagen yesterday. And now we know more about the biggest restructuring in the company's history. Can you fill us in about that?
Yeah, let me tell you again, I mean, this week has been absolutely a crazy week at Volkswagen headquarters in Wolfsburg, about 3 hours away from where we are. Nobody here on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange really thought that we would first have a new CEO in place and then this big restructure of the company. Yes, we had the press conference today, already yesterday during the board meeting. It was confirmed that, in fact, Herbert Diess is going to be the new CEO of the company. He has been with Volkswagen since 2015, was formerly working for BMW and was the brand manager of Volkswagen. Now he is going to be the new CEO, brand manager at the same time, so with even more power than his predecessor Müller. And the company, and that's the big reform, they will be building different groups, car groups, then the luxury cars, then commercial vehicles. We are also learning that the commercial vehicle division could even become a public listing, possibly here at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. And I can tell you that investors here were very much appreciating this latest news. In general, though, they didn't even have anything to complain in the past because, and we have talked about this many times, Volkswagen has been providing lots of good numbers during the last year. Record sales numbers in 2017. They sold as many cars as they never did, but still many analysts were saying that the company was not efficient enough. Now with this new structure, they're hoping that this is going to be the case, that they can use synergies much better, that there is going to be cost cutting and at the same time also higher margin. As a result, also Nord LB, that's a lender here in Germany, just a few minutes ago they actually shared that their advice for investors is still going to remain on the buying mode and that they are actually changing their goal now from 185 euros to 195 at the moment. As I say, shares up right now with 0.8%. So lots of work for the new CEO. He knows that he needs to deliver. Let's see if he does.
Now, while we wait to see if it does, will tell us about Germany's latest inflation data and what it means for the ECB monetary policy.
Yeah, exactly. Those inflation data, they rose by 1.6% in March compared to a year ago, Germany's Federal Statistic Office said today. The March figure showed a higher inflation rate than in February, when it was at a level of 1.4%. It was also at 1.6% when you talk about food or rent for property, accounted for most of the price rises, with the annual increase of 2.9% and 1.6% respectively. What does all of this now mean for the ECB monetary policy? Well, we have to remember that the ECB always has this goal of 2% for the ECB, because we have been talking a lot in the past about the monetary policy of the ECB, that many people have asked for a complete stop of the bond purchasing program, for example, also for lower interest rates here, not for lower, for higher interest rates here in the Eurozone. We have to remember that interest rates here in the Eurozone still are at a record low of 0%. So all of this right now is not going to really make Mario Draghi convinced to change this, because he wants it, as I said, at 2%.
Now, just before I let you go, Daniel, Standard & Poor's has lowered the rating for Deutsche Bank to credit watch negative. Can you tell us why?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the global credit rating agency S&P said it's mulling a downgrade of Deutsche Bank after the troubled German lender announced a change of the CEO. Christian Sewing was brought in to replace British Chief Executive John Crine, who had led the bank since 2016. While Crine extricated Deutsche from some of its naughtiest legal cases, he did not really succeed in guiding the lender back to profitability. They are now stating that they are placing this minus rating on Deutsche Bank at its core operating subsidiaries on credit watch, with a negative implication, as they consider it. So all of this is going to mean they are not really that convinced that too soon, at least, lots of things are going to change. They know this is going to be a very tough job for this new CEO. He will have to make a very difficult decision. So this is why we're seeing this lower rating at the moment. But in general, the share price also of Deutsche really jumped this week. Investors do feel that this new CEO, Sewing, just is the same now with Herbert Diess of Volkswagen, that he can lead the company in the right direction.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. Do you have a great weekend?